Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and in this video, I'm reviewing the season finale of Awkward Season 3, Episode 20, Who Do I Want to Be? This episode was amazing, and it definitely felt like the end of an era, because as we know, or you might not know, this was the writer, Lauren Lungaric, I think it's how you pronounce her name. This was her last episode that she ever wrote. Right now, she has nothing else. She's not involved with the show anymore. She doesn't write for the show anymore. There are 2 new writers who are going to be writing for the show next year. This was basically her swan song, and it definitely felt that way. It felt like this could have been, if this show would have been canceled, I would have been satisfied with this finale, because it really was just that great. Because for the first time, we basically saw what the whole show was about. And we're kind of back to season 1 now with Jenna's character as far as she goes. So it was definitely interesting to see that. So let's just get to this review. And then I have a couple of things to talk about some changes for next year for Awkward. So we'll get to that. Alright. So the first thing that happens in this episode is we see, as we know, Matty asked Jenna if he could take Bailey to prom and if she'd be okay with it. And, it's kind of awkward for her to, think what she could, him asking her out, she's kind of like, okay, and she gets really upset, and it doesn't work out for them. He leaves, and she gets really upset. She ends up ripping off her dress because, she couldn't get it off. She rips it off, and she begins to read the book that Mr. Hart gave her, and she becomes extremely obsessed with it. She does not stop reading the book because she basically thinks that the book is her only way to escape all the drama, and that's what she wants to do. She wants to escape all the drama. She wants to get away from all the drama. That's just what she wants to do. So she's reading the book and everything, and she becomes really obsessed with the author. But it turns out that the author is Mr. Hart, which was a pretty big reveal. And I definitely thought that was interesting, the way they revealed that. But I actually really like that because it really does work well. At the same time, he's telling them to write this assignment for basically Who Do You Want to Be, which is a paper on who do you want to be and everything. And she accidentally lets the ball, the big ball drop that he is, I think his name was Russell Jonathan, something like that. I think it was, Russell Jonathan, and then he changed his name. And so she kind of lets it slip, and he's kind of like, what's going on here? So she goes to Valerie about this, and Valerie just thinks she wants to talk about her and Matty and everything. But Jenna says, no, we're not talking about me and Matty, because she says, why would Mr. Hart ask me out to prom? Because Valerie's just talking about Matty and Jenna. So it turns out that basically Matty and Jenna have become basically a big rumor. Basically everyone's, saying that Jenna deserves it and their karma's a bitch. As we know, Sadie said this to her in episode 4 of this season. Episode 14 of this season, The Bad Seed, when Sadie said karma's a bitch and what goes around comes around. And that's what's happened to Jenna. She's experiencing that right now, and there's really nothing she can do about it, unfortunately, which is kind of sad. So she's talking to Tamara and everyone, and they say that, they have an extra prom ticket, and they want to do similarly what Jake and Matty did for Tamara last year, where Tamara was their +1. They want Jenna to be their +1. So it would be Jenna, Jake, Tamara, and Jenna. And she's kind of like she doesn't want to get in the way because she knows Matty and Bailey are going together, but it turns out they're not going together. And so she kind of thinks this as an opportunity to get Matty to like her again, which seems to work at first, but I think she was a little too obvious with it. She was a lot too obvious with it. She's kind of like, oh, you want to take me to prom and everything. She says it very, very obviously, so he knew exactly what she was going to say. And he seemed a bit annoyed and everything about this. He kind of was like, okay, I'll have to think about it. And he's talking to her and everything. And, why do I feel I'm forgetting something? I'm not. She eventually finds out that the reason they're not going is because Bailey, denied Maddie's, invite. And I knew that Bailey did this because she did not want to break her promise to Jenna. If you remember last week, she promised Jenna that she would not let Maddie she would not get in the way of Matty and Jenna's friendship or relationship or anything like that. So she didn't want to break her promise to her. And basically then we see this really big scene between her and Jenna where Bailey goes up to her and says the reason that she did this is because she did not think Jenna ever wanted to talk to her again because she left her a message after Matty had asked her, because she didn't know if Jenna knew already and she, didn't want to be a bad friend, so that's why she said no. And Jenna actually feels really bad about this. She feels really bad and she wants to, do something about it. So she decides that, they have the opportunity that, that they should be, together. And she decides that, maybe they should go to prom together. So that's exactly what she ends up doing. She ends up pushing them together. And they end up going to prom together because she wants them to. So this is really her first act of selflessness. Because she's really showing that she's a selfless person. And that she really just cares a lot more about people now. And it's really, really great that this is happening. Because I really love this scene. So after this happens, what happened after that? I'm trying to remember. Oh, Sadie, said her thing to her and everything, but that was whatever. So basically she's trying to come up, so Sadie's saying how, it was like her paper and everything, but it turns out that Jenna actually has not written a paper yet, and Mr. Hart kind of helps her out with this. She goes up to him at the end of class, and I really love this next scene. This next scene was just so amazing. I loved it. One of my 2 favorite scenes of the episode was this scene. He goes up to her, and he basically says how, I knew this guy who was a complete failure in school. Everybody just, he was teased in school and everything, but then he wrote this one book that changed everything. And it turns out that teacher was Mr. Hart, and the whole reason he became a teacher is because he wanted students to be on a good path with themselves and see how writing can really make you escape and everything. And he says, yes, he is an ass and everything, but he does really care about his students. And that's what Jenna starts to realize. She realizes that he's a really great teacher and that she really does care about him, which was really great. I really love that she came to terms of realization with that because she definitely needed to see that, and I definitely think it was really, really great in my opinion. One of the best scenes of the episode was that scene by far. By the way, if you guys haven't known already, this is another hour-long episode, which was just perfect for the show. So then after this, she goes to her mom, and she's talking to her mom and everything about, trying to write the paper, and this is by far probably the greatest scene, the greatest performance that Ashley Rickards and Nikki Reed give here. It's the best performance they've given. She's talking to Lacey. They see the letter and everything. And Jenna said, did I really become this person? Did I really become the type of person that letter says? Did I really, do something like that? Did I really shut everybody out? And what she realizes is that she cannot fix what she has done. She's realized that, karma is a bitch and everything, and she did realize that. That's why she decided to put Matty and Bailey together, because she realizes that karma is a bitch. And her mother's talking to her and basically says, what if you've never forgiven me? What if you had not forgiven me about the letter? And she says she's so happy about the bond they have and everything. And I really love this speech the mother said, especially the part where she said, we have to have bad days so we can have good days from those bad days. Because it's true. Everyone has some sort of bad day in their life. And you know what? That is what Jenna has had all season long, basically. She's just had very bad days. And her mother says she can fix it. So that's exactly what she decides to do. So she does end up going to the prom with Tamara and Jake. And she goes by herself though. And she sees everyone together basically. She sees Matty and Bailey together and they're having a great time. And we kind of get this one final scene between Matty and Jenna. We get this one final scene between them, which is very important in my opinion. They're slow dancing and everything, and she basically realizes that she does not really need Matty anymore. She realizes that, she's in a place now where she doesn't need either of them, any guys in her life, because Colin also talked to her before, and she said how she cannot care about, she cannot feel for a person who she doesn't care about, and that was definitely really big when she revealed that to Colin. I definitely enjoyed that. And we see she's writing the letter, and she's saying she wants to be a type of person who's a giving person, a sweet person. Basically, an overall, just really generous, giving person, and that's who she wants to be. She's really come to terms with herself, and we see that she's not afraid to dance on her own without a man for once. And that's great, because here's the thing. I know a lot of people are upset that Matty and Jenna did not get back together. If you're upset by that, you guys have not been watching this show properly. The show has never been about romance. It's been about Jenna standing in the way of what's really important. She has always been so obsessed with, something else. Whether it's popularity, friends, Matty, Jake, Colin, any of them. If it had been any of, things like that. And, now she's starting to realize that she doesn't need any of these things. She has herself, and that's all she really needs. And I thought that was great. I absolutely loved that scene. I love this plot. The episode was so, so good, and I really loved it. Now, the other thing that was going on was Ming and Fred, which was really funny. Ming basically thought that Fred wanted to have sex with her at the prom. They have dinner and everything, and she's talking to him. And he says he's, whatever she's comfortable with. And they have dinner, and she ends up making it really awkward for him. And I thought that whole scene was really funny, especially apart from a very dark episode. It wasn't a very silly episode. It was actually pretty dark, if you ask me. It turns out that he actually does not want to have sex with her. He just wanted to rent the hotel room out because he wanted to watch pay-per-view with her, and basically they come to terms with their relationship, and I really like that. The other person that had a big plot was Sadie. Sadie and Austin finally DTR'd, basically. They finally DTR as to who they are. She admitted to Lisa that she is in love with Austin, and Austin came up to her and said that he is in love with her too. So now Austin and Sadie are together, and I'm really hoping that they continue this in season 4. So that was basically the episode. That's where we stand in this season. Now, there are a couple changes that are going to be coming our way when Awkward comes back. Now, the big changes are, 1, unfortunately, the girl who plays Bailey has booked a pilot on another show. I believe it's FX. She has booked another pilot. And so I do not know if she's coming back. Most likely her role's going to be limited. But I'm hoping she does come back, but we'll have to see. So pretty much, we'll just have to see. 2, immediately after the episode aired, Jessica Liu tweeted that this was her last episode. So Ming is officially off the show after this episode. It's going to be interesting to see how they write her off, which I kind of got a sense of when they were showing so much of her and kind of closing out her storyline. She wasn't given much to do. So maybe they'll just, they'll talk about her, but they won't really show her because it's not as important anymore. I think that's probably what's going to be. 3, when the show comes, they now have new creators, and they're going to try to make the show as close to Lauren's vision of it, Lauren Lungaric's vision of it as possible, because they want to keep that formula. They want to keep fans interested. 4, when the show comes back, it's going to be a much more mature show. They're all going to be focusing on the futures and things like that in college, and that's going to be the main focus of season 4. It's going to be college and what they want to do with their lives and closing the book. Tamara and Jen are going to, not know if they're going to be friends after college and everything. It's all about what they're going to do after college, because they already feel like they've graduated. Because I know there are people that are seniors in my school who feel they've already graduated because they've been accepted to colleges. Matty, however, is not going to know what he wants to do with his life. So, that's what we found out, because Jillian Rose Reed and Bo Murchoff were both interviewed after this episode. They both said the same thing. And that's basically it for this episode. But overall, I love this episode. In fact, it was the best episode of the season by far. I think maybe even the best episode of the show ever. I think it's the best finale they've done.